This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
As I strum my air guitar, welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we discuss the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. I am Ben.
Dude, you shredded that.
I shredded that air guitar.
I'm Alex. Hey.
If this room was a little bigger, I might have just done a knee slide.
You could have pulled it off, I think.
I think I could have.
I think you could have done it.
I mean, I do have some experience.
In knee sliding?
Yeah.
How does one gain experience in that?
Like when you play soccer, celebration when you score goals on knee slide.
Did you play soccer?
Yeah.
I don't ever remember you ever playing soccer.
Well, not in high school, but
Casually, since.
just Sunday pickup games.
Just get some huge turf burns on your knees.
No. You have high socks.
All the way to your knees, though.
Sometimes. They fall down, but
Just wear them all the way up to my mid-thigh.
yeah, just thigh
like,
highs.
Yeah, just like not even playing in shorts anymore. You're playing in like
Playing in
hybrid tights.
tights.
Yeah. I see that a lot, actually. Soccer players like wearing soccer pants. I don't like how tight they are around my ankle. It's weird.
Like kind of like joggers they remind me of.
Yeah. Except for they go from like kind of baggy to just super tight all of a sudden. They look like Peter Pan pants.
Like parachute pants.
Except for
Like reverse. Like
reverse bell bottoms.
yeah. Like instead of flowing out, it's like condensing in.
Condensing in, getting all tight around the ankle.
Yeah.
Man, what are we talking about?
I'm talking about pants.
All right, well, let's talk
I don't
about...
even know how that escalated.
Let's talk about sports.
That sounds like a plan to
That
me.
made me think of Lego Movie. You seen Lego Movie?
Yeah, of course.
He goes, honey, where are my pants?
That was a good movie.
I love that movie.
I love Chris Pratt. He's a good actor.
I do too. I'm a big fan of Chris Pratt. From Parks and Recreation to that to Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2
World.
coming out, Jurassic World, yeah. He's a great... I'll just cast him in whatever I want.
He's good. I like him.
You know what I like?
What's that?
Besides Chris Pratt, sports.
I love sports.
And today, for this show, because we have the NBA draft tonight, it's a heavy NBA show, as a matter of fact.
A lot of NBA news.
So what we're going to do is preview the NBA draft, but we're going to save that for last, and we're going to get into some news of some players moving around, some Olympic news, Olympic basketball news, and weirdly enough, President Barack Obama.
Yeah, he's making some headlines in the NBA. He does love his sports as well as we
He does
do.
love his basketball.
He loves his football too, but I think basketball is probably his number one sport.
Yeah, he loves basketball. He's always doing the college basketball, the March Madness picks. He's always doing the whole brackets and everything. He loves it, man. He's a big fan. But let's get into it, and probably the biggest news of the week, even if the draft wasn't today, is the Bulls send Derrick Rose to the Knicks in a multiplayer swap.
Derrick Rose has been kissed by a rose from Chicago to New York. I've been waiting all day to say that.
I've been waiting for a reason to say this every episode of our podcast.
I've been waiting all day to say that.
But so then New York traded center Robin Lopez, Jose Calderon, and Jaren Grant to Chicago, which shipped guard Justin Holiday, Rose, and next year's second-round pick back to the Knicks. What do you make of this? Rose is a Chicago native, obviously drafted number 1 out of Memphis in 2008. He's not super happy leaving, but we'll see how he does there in the Big Apple. What do you think?
Yeah, it is his hometown. He really wanted to do like a LeBron just did, win it for his own city. Obviously, he's now a member of the New York Knicks, so that can't happen. I feel like this trade is 3 years too late.
Well, he was hurt 2-3 years ago.
That's why I would have traded him.
You trade him on the low, though.
Here's my thoughts.
Don't get much back for him.
I thought about this obviously back then. He got hurt in 2012 when he tore his ACL in the playoffs. It was Game 1 against the Sixers. He was the MVP. They were the number 1 seed. They ended up losing that series because, MVP's gone. That's tough to overcome.
Yes.
So he misses the whole next season. Then when he comes back, he tears his meniscus like really, really early on in the
10
season.
games.
At that point is when I would have traded him.
Okay.
Because you can get a lot more at that point. I mean, they're getting Robin Lopez, who's a decent big man, provides depth. Jose Calderon, an aging point guard. He's a veteran, though. And then Jerry Grant's a young guy who he's out of Notre Dame, so he could see what he can bring to the table. So, and then they're not really giving up much in, just a 2017 second-round pick. That's really nothing. Justin Holiday, not much. So it's mainly just Rose here. But they could have gotten a lot more for Derrick Rose 3 years ago, and that's when I would have traded him. Obviously, it didn't happen. When I look at this trade, I think it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, what's interesting is he says once Rose got word from the Bulls that they're looking to trade him, he said that he hoped it would be the Knicks, and the Knicks was his first choice. He likes to play in the spotlight in a sense. It's he wanted, like you said, he wanted to do what LeBron did. He wanted to win one for his hometown. He already won an MVP there for his hometown as a local kid. But that's too bad that he ended up having to leave there. But at least he's going somewhere that apparently he wants to go.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win. So Derrick Rose only has 1 year left on his deal. So he's going to go to New York for his last year. He's had the injury problems. He's only played in 39% of games since he got injured in 2012 with that ACL injury. So there is the concern there. But it's only a one-year contract left. So it doesn't work out. He's a free agent. They don't need to re-sign him.
Yeah.
Then they take the less salary cap there so they can sign free agents for following summer. Here's my problem with the Knicks. Adding Derrick Rose, good player. Knicks, the team that didn't even make the playoffs, maybe this can propel them to a playoff spot. You have to start somewhere rebuilding. But I feel like you're adding Derrick Rose, who in my opinion is I'm going to say it this way, like a cancer. And then you're adding with Carmelo Anthony, who I already think is a cancer. Because Carmelo, what is he? He's a great scorer. He's not a great player.
Now, what do you mean by Derrick Rose being a cancer?
He's never healthy. That's one. Number two, I compare Derrick Rose to, if he's not 100% healthy, he's not playing. Remember what he said a couple of years ago where he's like, I'm thinking about being able to walk my kids across the stage of graduation. That's why I'm sitting out games. So if he's not 100% healthy, he's not going to play. So he's not the kind of guy that says, okay, I have a sprained knee. It's not going to bother me. I'm going to play. And then you have Carmelo Anthony, who's a great scorer, but he's not a good leader. He's not a good teammate.
This is true.
He's never going to win a championship, in my opinion, because of those reasons.
Yeah.
He's a guy who wants to take 30 shots a game. He's not a guy who wants to pass the ball around and be a teammate.
Yeah, and he's obviously not on the Sprite side of age either, and Rose being 27, leading into his sixth year here. One thing that does look, at least in a good sense, for the Knicks in terms of Rose coming over there is he is a nice fit for the triangle offense. I don't think Carmelo has ever been a good fit for it, so that's still tricky. Carmelo, a source said that Carmelo reached out to Rose in the camp leading up to the days leading up to the trade, but initially were unable to connect. But it's interesting to see where this goes. I'm interested to see how he does there. I can't wait for him to see him over there. Now, so Derrick Rose again did get traded. We have some other news as well of completed trade in the NBA, and it is involving Jeff Teague.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick on the Derrick Rose thing.
If you want to finish
with the Bulls now, so it's Jimmy Butler's team. You take the contract hit off of your salary with Rose being gone, and you kind of move on past that whole injured era, and you can kind of move on with Jimmy Butler being the centerpiece of your franchise. So obviously, I say a win-win for both teams. As we mentioned, Jeff Teague now a member of the Pacers. He got traded from the Hawks. There was another team in there, was Utah Jazz. I'm not sure exactly what they got out of the deal. The main pieces were Jeff Teague going to Indiana, and then George Hill going out of Indiana to Utah.
It was a 3-team trade. So, Jeff Teague to the Pacers, and then, George Hill to the Jazz, and the number 12 pick to the Hawks.
Okay, so they got a first-round pick out of it, so that's not bad. So the Hawks...
They got the Jazz's 12th pick,
Yeah, so that's not bad. So the Hawks definitely moving past Jeff Teague now. They have Dennis Schroeder. He's a young point guard. He's from Germany. He's been in the league a couple of years now. Kind of reminds me of like Rajon Rondo, a slimmer, taller guard, not much of a shooter, definitely more of a passer, rebounder. Now he has a chance to start. He had a good couple years backing up Teague. Teague going to Indiana, I think, is a great deal because now you match up a good, solid point guard, a versatile point guard, a balanced point guard with a stud in Paul George. So Teague is only one of two people to average 15 points, 5 assists, and shoot 40% from three. The other guy was Steph Curry. So he's in pretty good conversation there. So I think adding Teague with Paul George as opposed to George Hill is definitely added for the Pacers, who are kind of starting to rebuild after they had a couple good years there when they battled Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals, when they had people like Hibbert. So now they're Larry Bird starting to really rebuild that franchise, and I think this is a good step in the right direction.
One interesting thing to see is the sources say that the Hawks plan to shop their number 12 pick that they recently just got from the Jazz, as well as the number 21 pick overall, in hopes of creating further financial flexibility in terms of being able to re-sign Al Horford, their big guy, and swing player Kent Bazemore. What is also interesting to look at, moving back to Teague, is that did you see earlier this month he posted on Instagram, and he deleted it afterwards, but he posted that he played the entire season with a torn patella tendon.
Yes, I did see
that. And he said, quote, he could barely jump or stop at times. He didn't require surgery for some crazy, I don't know how, but didn't require surgery following an MRI he took. But, I mean, you're getting apparently a guy that was injured not too recently. So
that's definitely kind of scary. He could have really damaged that knee a lot worse. Knees are really the one injury in any sport that seems to sideline people forever, really reoccurring. So that's definitely scary, but it shows what it means to Jeff Teague to be in the NBA, and it shows what he can do, the heart, the passion he has for the game and for the team, that if he's playing with a torn patellar tendon and he's still producing at a good level, that, he definitely has the commitment level there.
I agree with you. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm interested to also see what goes on with the trade, if they're going to move these draft picks or not. So definitely something that interests me there.
Yeah, Al Horford means so much to that team. He's a free agent now. He's gonna draw max money from somewhere. The Hawks are definitely trying to make sure they're the team that gets him.
Yeah,
he means a lot to their team. The Hawks have really had a good couple of years now since they hired Ken Burzenholder, who was the former Spurs assistant. So he's really implementing a lot of those Greg Popovich styles in Atlanta, and they've had a good couple of years. So
yeah, he knows how to win. We're gonna take a quick break here, and then we're gonna come back with some Olympic news, some players that are officially going to be going to the Olympics, and some that are still on the fence, maybe don't know for sure yet. So we'll take a quick break here, and we will be right back at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast with little six shooters going.
I feel like I just got out of like a rave or something. A little doot.
Yeah, a little bit of six shooters. I like it. But we're going to move on to a little bit of Olympic news, as we were talking about prior to the break. Carmelo Anthony, aforementioned Carmelo Anthony in the last segment, Kyle Lowry, and we did talk a little bit about Jimmy Butler there, have accepted their Team USA invite to join the United States in, is it Rio, right?
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Rio de Janeiro, yeah. Joining the likes of Kevin Durant, Paul George, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins. They're still hoping that Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson join. Unfortunately, Damian Lillard isn't joining this year. LeBron, Chris Paul, they're not going to be there. But, still, one thing I always look at is, say you're 6 years ago. Best players in the NBA, Kobe, LeBron, probably, Rose, any of those guys, say all three of them not playing. I would still be pretty confident in the United States' chances of winning.
I'm still confident now.
That's
too.
what I'm saying. So, I mean, Paul George obviously is a great player. Unfortunately, he got hurt leading up to the last he got hurt during international play.
That was one of the worst injuries I ever saw.
That was bad. Not as bad as the Kevin Ware one from the March Madness a couple years ago, but that was bad.
Terrible too.
Kevin Durant obviously is a very good player. Paul George, great player. Draymond Green, we've seen in the playoffs and the finals, he's a good player. DeMarcus Cousins, as a home team fan of his, and with the Kings here, DeMarcus Cousins, I'm interested to see him play with some good talent. Kyrie and Clay, adding them obviously would be even better. Those are strong players, and then obviously you have Carmelo, Kyle, and Butler. Yeah.
No, don't really see much aging. I think the oldest guy on that list that you just mentioned might be Kyle Lowry, and he's not even...
Carmelo, maybe?
Oh, Carmelo, if he does go. He's still on the fence, sort of. LeBron's on the fence, too, but I don't expect LeBron to go. But yeah, Carmelo, he would be sort of like the captain, I guess you would say, which is kind of scary to think, but...
Yeah, LeBron said he's gonna go ahead and skip this year.
But he doesn't have to go. What does LeBron have to prove?
Yeah, he's take a break, bro. Take a break.
I mean, this is what I find interesting, especially in the NBA, okay? Because you have, he's like a 13-year vet. He hasn't played that much. Okay, with how much these guys have played in the postseason, you could add another season or two. The Olympics, the FIBA championships. They might be a 13-year veteran, but they might have played 16 years of games. And you could say that the playoffs is even longer than a season because they're playing the top teams in the NBA. They're not playing the bottom feeders like they are in the regular season. They're playing, look, the Cavaliers and the Warriors, okay?
Okay.
That was a 7-game series. You could maybe count that as, with how much fighting and, not necessarily fighting, that's a bad word, but how much intensity went into that series. You could say that's, equal to, 10 or 12 games in the regular season.
I kind of look at it like the Pro Bowl. These guys, now that it's before the Super Bowl, these guys all finish their, long season, possibly the playoffs, and they sit there and they go, do I really want to make this trip to go play in just some game? You know what I mean? A lot of guys say, oh, no, thank you. Yeah, these guys are finishing a long season, especially anybody who's in the playoffs. Draymond, in that sense, if LeBron was to do it, Kevin Durant, not much shorter. And now they have to, keep training a little bit and then travel to Rio de Janeiro for a whole month to play.
And that's not necessarily the greatest place to go right now. You have the Zika virus. You have the water scandal. It's high on crime. It's like a poverty sort of city there. It's really run down. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to go there.
Yeah, fair point there.
Some of these guys that haven't done it before, we mentioned on a couple episodes before, DeMarcus Cousins, great. I'm happy for DeMarcus. First time in the Olympics. It's going to mean a lot to him. He's going to learn from a lot of these guys. I feel like a lot of times you go to the Olympics and you make a jump into sort of being more of a star in the NBA because you can learn so much from your teammates who are also your enemies in the NBA. You can learn so much from them and
not to
get
mention
better.
Coach K.
Right. He's a legendary coach.
I mean, he's already played for Coach K, so.
Yeah, but I feel like you can learn so much to make the jump into the NBA. I remember Kevin Love went to the Olympics, and then next year in the NBA, he just started tearing it up. So you can learn so much from them. So I compare the USA in basketball. I don't think it really matters. All these big name guys that aren't going, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. I know John Wall's not going. LeBron's not going.
Damian Lillard's not going.
Damian Lillard, unfortunately, I love Damian Lillard, one of my favorite players. But all these guys not going, it doesn't matter.
Jimmer Fredette won't be making the trip. Ricky Rubio
I
won't be going.
thought he had that one. I thought Jimmer was on the cusp.
Brian Scalabrine.
Maybe they'll bring in Brian Cardinal or the Red Rocket, Matt Bonner.
The Red Rocket.
But anyway, so, I mean, the list goes on and on. Okay, Chris Paul's not playing. Oh, just bring in Kyle Lowry, another all-star. Mm-hmm. Oh, he can't go. Maybe we'll bring in Isaiah Thomas, another all-star. I compare it to how Argentina just beat the United States in soccer. In basketball, we're Argentina, and the rest of the world is United States.
Come on, man. Come on.
It doesn't matter. They're all going to win.
No, in basketball, we're Argentina, and the rest of the world is they're like...
India.
Yeah, India's national soccer team.
You know what I mean?
I was trying not to be
okay,
mean,
great.
Yeah.
I'm happy for some of these guys that aren't going. I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I feel like they should make a rule where you go to the Olympics one time and then you're done. That way everyone gets a chance to get their gold medal, get a chance to be part of playing for their nation. A lot of times they have like a sending off and they let someone be on it because it's going to be their last time. So, I don't know. A lot of these guys, it doesn't mean much to them because they've done it already, like LeBron. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch that much Olympic basketball.
I don't feel like there's going to be much to watch. You're going to be watching the All-Star game versus the Washington Nationals of, like, the Harlem Globetrotters play all the time.
Yeah, just alley-oops and people sitting on top of
Don't get me
rings
wrong. There's still some good – like, Spain is probably the second best basketball country. They have, like, people like Pau Gasol, Calderon, who got traded today. I know Rudy Fernandez plays for them, Marc Gasol. But they don't have much of a chance. Get the Gasol brothers out there. They don't have much of a chance. Like, come on.
It's true. Well, going from Olympic basketball and USA basketball to USA presidents – before our last break, because we do have the nice draft preview we're going to hit you with before we end the show. Mr. President Barack Obama, El Presidente Barack Obama, has discussed being an NBA owner, the White House has said, in what Ben and I have understood as an ownership group for an NBA franchise. And that Obama would pursue the opportunity potentially under the right circumstances. I think he's just kind of saying it because I have fantasized about being able to put together a team and how much fun that would be. But I think that's just more having fun. What do you think?
Well, before we get into that, little breaking news. Derrick Rose is going to have a new number in New York.
So he's not number one
anymore. He's not going to be number one anymore. He's going to be my favorite number, 25.
25?
Number 25.
That's a weird
Number 25 for the Bulls.
Okay.
So, not for the Bulls. Oh, I'm sorry. For the Knicks. Number 25 for the Knicks, Derrick Rose.
Is somebody already number one with the Knicks?
I don't think so.
Is he looking at this like a new chapter?
I guess, maybe. I know Amari was number one, but he's not even on the Knicks anymore. So, I think it should be vacant. I don't know. Maybe he's just decided something different. I mean, a lot of people change their numbers all the time for various reasons. So,
the Knicks team have tweeted a picture of white Rose jersey with number 25.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting.
So as far as Obama goes, being an owner, sure, why not? He's been a senator. He's going to be ending up his presidential campaign here at the end of the year. Not going to be able to do it anymore. He's going to be making about $400,000 a year for the rest of his life. So he's going to have money. I would think it'd be part of an ownership group, not necessarily owning it by himself. So sure, why not? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. You can really do whatever you want.
It's true. Fair enough. I mean, fair. Also, I'm looking at this Derrick Rose picture, and they have one of him kind of like, screenshot or photoshopped of him wearing the jersey. Looks weird, man. Looks really weird.
That always happens when you have like same faces in new places. Before you really like when I saw LeBron in a Heat jersey the first time, I didn't know what to say. Like, it just didn't look. It just didn't look right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It just looks funny. Looks funny. I'm interested to see why maybe he chose to get 25 and said maybe, like I said, maybe new chapter. Maybe same reason LeBron didn't wear 23 in Miami.
Well, LeBron feels like 23 should be retired by the NBA because of Jordan. So he went to number 6, which was his Olympic number.
Mm-hmm.
So
he was also playing the Olympics for a lot of the time when he was with the Heat anyway.
Right. So that's why. And then when he came back to Cleveland, he put on like Twitter, like a vote, like, okay, 23 or 6, and they voted 23. So.
Yeah, I felt like he had to go back to that.
All right, so as far as Obama goes, what do you think about him trying to be an owner?
Just stick to presidential stuff, man.
He should, stay out of it?
Owners are dudes that have money to just waste.
Obama's going to have money to waste.
These are guys that don't make, $400,000 a year. They make a couple million a year.
Okay, that's true.
NBA teams are expensive.
Look at Steve Ballmer and Mark Cuban. They're billionaires. Paul Allen of the Blazers.
Literally, Mark Cuban has what they call F it money. He got fined $25,000 for saying the F word during an interview for the NBA TV, and he says, they're like, would you cuss more if it went to charity? And he's like, oh yeah, I would. And he's like, I'd say it right now. And she goes, just like F it. And he goes, yeah, F it, like out loud. And then he's like, another 25,
I love
kind
Mark
of thing
Cuban.
like that.
I watch Shark Tank all the time. He's great on that show. It shows you how smart these people are.
No, they have money for a reason. Jerry Jones might be one of the most hated figures in football by people who aren't Cowboys fans, and probably some Cowboys fans, for the way that he kind of has his outlook on football. But he's a smart dude. And I think his money came from oil, but you got to be a smart guy to even handle a lot of that, Or Arthur Blank, the Falcons. The Falcons. That dude is smart.
Well, you don't be a billionaire by reason. You have to be smart.
The Rooney family, they're smart people. DiBartolo, from the former owner of the Niners, that guy, up until that little scandal in like the mid '90s, he was just making moves left and right. So these guys are smart people, and as cool as that probably would be for President Obama, that's not the same kind of money, man.
What do you think team wise? Who would he?
He would want
Chicago.
He would want the
Chicago.
Bulls. He would want the Bulls.
Or like Washington with the Wizards. He's already there.
Yeah, I mean, he would want the Bulls though.
Well, he'd be part of a group. Maybe he'd be the majority owner or not, but he would try to be part of something.
You can tell the president no, even if it's the former president.
Well, like you mentioned it. You mentioned it. Money talks. He's not a billionaire like some of these other owners.
Yeah, money talks, but so does a former president of the United States of America. They still have legal ability to do things.
They do.
He's be like, yeah, just keep it up.
I say if Obama wants to do it and the opportunity's there,
I mean, by all means,
not?
go for it. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not gonna ruin my day. I'll be like, oh, that's cool, I guess.
It's cool. It's interesting. So I don't have any issues.
I mean, I won't be owning an NBA team. I won't be part of this ownership group, but
hey, you never know.
I don't.
Do you think Mark Cuban would be owning an NBA team when he was in his 20s?
I don't know who Mark Cuban was.
Okay. But you could still possibly be an NBA owner eventually.
Okay, two things. Oh, that you're talking about Obama still. Like, first off, Obama's not in his 20s. Second off, he's a president.
I'm talking about you.
Yeah, no, he probably had an idea of the kind of money he was earning by that time. He's probably earning some decent money, more than I am right now.
Well, yeah.
And I'd rather own an NFL team than an NBA team.
Okay.
I'd like to be the person to take over for the Rooneys eventually. Except for no, because I never want the Rooneys to not own the Steelers. But that's for another time, another place. We got to take one more quick break.
Unfortunately, just one more. Though.
Yeah, and then our NBA draft preview, which it won't be super long. Honestly, it'll be kind of more. Honestly, the only thing people could look at in the NBA draft is the top 10 anyway. So we'll be looking at that and some.
Well, there are some sleepers there. There is some potential.
Well, yeah,
intriguing prospects there.
Let's put it this way: you're not going to be sitting here for 30 minutes listening to us again. We have some confirmed, like we said yesterday. Ben Simmons was confirmed number 1. They've confirmed number 2 already as well.
Brandon Ingram to the Lakers.
What they said. So we're going to look at the rest of the top 10 and maybe some guys we could see sneaking in there real quick. So we'll take a quick break. Last break here at the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. Don't go anywhere, and we will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
I feel like that has to be the best sports song of all time.
It's up there.
That has to
I
be,
always
that has
love
to be the best.
by Fort Minor. Like, this is 10% luck, 20% skill.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like arena songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that was before they used actual songs, I feel like. Like whatever the name of that song is.
Or like, what about Sandstorm by Darude?
Which one's that again?
It was like...
Oh, that like old school, like it's like a techno song. It's like club. Yeah. That one.
That's
that
a good
one
too.
I should. Why did I know that? I knew that. Or the one that they play like at the end of Giants SF Giants games. The woohoo one.
Woohoo!
Yeah, they play like all over now.
Woohoo!
Yeah. That's a good one too.
Yeah,
we're in a good time for sports songs. I feel like we're in a good era of sports songs.
They're like never dying because they'll just always get played.
Exactly, and they always have a home. All right, so speaking of players looking for new homes.
Oh, I love how you transition there.
Thank you. Rookies leading into the NBA draft. NBA draft is tonight. It starts at, what did we say, Ben?
It starts 7 Eastern.
7 Eastern, so 4 o'clock Pacific time here or whatever. I'm not great with time zones, but wherever you are, I'm sure you can figure it out. Well, I know Eastern to Pacific, but I mean, if you're in Mountain Time, figure it out. It's not my problem.
Mountain's only 1 hour ahead of us.
Whatever, man. Whatever.
It goes Mountain, Central, and Eastern.
Ben?
Yes.
Stop embarrassing me.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just trying to inform you, bud.
Thanks. All right, so the NBA draft, as we said, starts tonight. Yes, Ben Simmons was confirmed as the number 1 overall pick, at least expected, of course, to be that. And Ben said prior to the break, the number 2 pick has been confirmed as well by the Lakers. And who are they going for there, Ben?
They're going for Duke small forward Brandon Ingram. Unless something drastic happens, because there is a lot of rumors heating up here with possible trades. So Brandon Ingram's out of Duke. He's 6'9". He's 195 pounds, so he's tall and lengthy. A lot of people compare him to a Kevin Durant kind of player, like a taller, skinny wing player. He definitely needs to add weight. He's really, really skinny if you see him. So he definitely needs to add weight, but he's got a lot of potential and a lot of upside. So,
And then we have the Celtics at number 3, who got that pick from the Nets, but looks like the Philadelphia 76ers are in hot pursuit of that number 3 overall pick, with a trade that could include Nerlens Noel as well as Jahlil Okafor. And sources are being told that they're prepared to draft either one of those players or both to meet their draft night objectives, which is interesting. Obviously, both were very high picks, and Jahlil Okafor looks like a good future player.
yeah, he had a good rookie year last year. A lot more of an offensive player as opposed to Noel. Noel's more of a defensive threat, a rebounding threat. So the Sixers are so weird to me. They drafted Joel Embiid out of Kansas. He had all those injury concerns. He hasn't even played a game yet. So then they drafted 2 more big men in the next 2 drafts right after that. They're taking Simmons here, who's another big man. He's more of a small forward, power forward hybrid here.
And then wrapping around to the number 3.
And then they're trying to get the number 3 pick from Boston, which you mentioned wouldn't include Noel there, and they're looking at someone like maybe Buddy Hield out of Oklahoma.
Buddy Hield, Chris Dunn, and Jamal Murray would all be available for them. And not only, like
so
you said,
guards.
Yeah, not only like we said, Noel, he's a Jahlil Okafor. It could be both, you know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would do that, but
The 76ers seem very keen on it. It says that they're in hot pursuit, not just putting out feelers. It sounds like it says, they are in hot pursuit, which is interesting. But then, of course, just to round out the top 10, like we were saying, moves to Phoenix Suns at 4, the Timberwolves at 5, 6 with the Pelicans, Denver Nuggets at 7, my hometown Sacramento Kings at 8, 9 is Toronto Raptors, also from the Knicks there, another not original pick, and the Milwaukee Bucks at 10. If you want to go through the entire draft lottery, Orlando at 11. Sorry, Utah Jazz no longer have that pick at 12.
Yeah, with the trade with Teague and Jeff Teague and George Hill.
That now belongs to the
Hawks at 12.
Yes.
And you mentioned they're trying to trade that pick as well, and they have the number 21 pick, and they're trying to trade. So
Yes, and then 13 would be the Phoenix Suns via the Wizards, and then rounding out the bottom of the list is former team of Derrick Rose we spoke of earlier, Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, so we have Phoenix here. They definitely need to look more of a guard. They got rid of Goran Dragic, and they traded him to Miami, so they're looking for a guard. I'm interested to see what Minnesota does. They were really trying to shop that pick for Jimmy Butler. I think that will not happen now with them trading Rose. They're definitely going to build around Butler. So Minnesota, definitely a young up-and-coming team. I can see them in a couple of years being the Oklahoma City Thunder of a few years back. Yeah,
Okay.
They have a lot of great young talents. Andrew Wiggins, who they got from Cleveland in the trade for Kevin Love. I mean, I think Cleveland probably have Andrew Wiggins over Kevin Love right about now.
Yeah.
So Andrew Wiggins, Rookie of the Year. Then they drafted Karl Anthony Towns, number 1 last year, Rookie of the Year. So they have the 2 defending Rookie of the Years back to back. And then they have another young talent in Zach LaVine, who's from UCLA.
Yes.
Really athletic, great dunker. He's won the dunk contest 2 years in a row. And then they're going to have another top 5 pick here. So mock drafts have him going for like a shooting guard, maybe like a Jamal Murray, a Buddy Hield type. Maybe if Chris Dunn's there. I think he goes to Boston if they don't trade him, though. But
Okay. And now what do you see from the number 6 pick with the New Orleans Pelicans? They have, of course, Tyreek Evans over there. They have the Brow playing.
Bow to the Brow
playing in their big spot there. What do you see them doing?
They could really go a lot of different ways here because I'd say except for a center, which is Anthony Davis, they have a lot of question marks. They have Tyreek Evans, as you mentioned, he has a lot of injury concerns. Drew Holiday as well, another point guard with some injury concerns. So I feel like they can go a lot of different ways here except for center, maybe like a wing player. That's what I think they're going with. They need to add some shooting. They have a dominant threat inside, maybe a wing player. Maybe like a like a Buddy Hield maybe, a Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown from Cal. He's another wing player there that could really add some upside to them. Somewhere around that range, I see them going for.
Okay. And now that we move forward to some sleeper picks that could be possibilities, do you see anybody coming from the lower end of the first kind of coming into the top 14 there at all?
I don't know necessarily going into the top 14. One guy I really do like is Denzel Valentine from Michigan State. There's a few concerns about him. He is a senior. In the NBA, the trend is to draft younger guys.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at like every mock draft, I'd say of the top 10, you have maybe one or two international players in there, but maybe except for Buddy Hield, Chris Dunn, maybe Sabonis from Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's about a freshman. NBA looks at the young talent. Since they made the transition from allowing high school players in, seems like everyone who's like a one and done gets drafted really high if they're good. So one guy I do like is Denzel Valentine. He's a senior. He reminds me a lot of Draymond Green, and he's from the same school as Draymond, which is Michigan State. He's like a walking triple-double almost. So his senior year at Michigan State, he averaged 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 7.8 assists a game. So very, very versatile. He's at 6'5". He's more of a small forward shooting guard type, as where Draymond's more of the power forward. Okay. So definitely a lot skinnier, a lot smaller player, but he has the ability, in my opinion, to be like Draymond Green and be really versatile. I think he could really go maybe like middle of the first round. Some mock drafts have him going number 18 to Detroit. So I think he could really be good. And another prospect I'm looking at is Thon Maker. Huge 7'1" center from Australia. Really has like guard intangibles for such a big guy. He's only 19 years old, so he's got a lot of potential, a lot of upside. I have to see where he goes. Maybe like late first round.
Okay. And now looking at the Sacramento Kings, I'll ask you on an 8 there, and I'll probably ask you there with the Bulls and at the Celtics pick. So what do you see? We'll start with the Celtics.
Celtics at 3?
Yeah. If they keep that pick, who do you see them going with?
Well, a lot of people say they really like either Chris Dunn or Buddy Hield.
Okay.
So if they're going with Chris Dunn, he's more of a point guard, a shooting guard. Kind of reminds me of like a guy who not necessarily plays point guard as a true point guard, plays it as more of a scorer, kind of like an attacker. Reminds me a lot of like Devin Harris, who used to play for the Mavericks and the Knicks a lot. Kind of like him. So maybe they go for him. But they do have Isaiah Thomas already, so maybe they move Chris Dunn to the shooting guard. He is kind of undersized though at 6'4". So
okay. And
then a lot of reports are coming out that they're really high on Buddy Hield.
Yes.
So Buddy maybe be going to Boston. Buddy Hield reminds me a lot of just a great scorer, really. He was the NCAA basketball player of the year senior, so he is a little older there, but he reminds me a lot of like a kind of like a Bradley Beal, a Klay Thompson type, a great scorer, great shooter, can create his own shot. So
okay, so looking to Sacramento and then Chicago, and then we'll get done with this. But the Sacramento, there's been rumors that that Buddy Hield could drop as far as number 8 to Sacramento, as well as Sacramento being very interested in Gonzaga's Domantas Sabonis as well.
Yeah, I heard they really love him. They really love Sabonis.
Exactly, yeah. And then as far as to say that some websites have the Kings taking hometown guy, California Bears, small forward Jaylen Brown. So what do you see here? Of course, point guard would be a target of theirs. Rajon Rondo is going to be an unrestricted free agent after the July 1st deadline. And Darren Collison, like you and I were talking about prior to the show, is facing domestic violence charges. So
unfortunately, yeah.
Yes. So what do you see at this point? Obviously, assuming that Chris Dunn is off the board, that would leave some lower guys on the list for point guards. But what do you see as an option here?
Well, I think the Kings can go a lot of different ways here, with the exception of a center power forward. They have DeMarcus Cousins. They drafted Willie Cauley-Stein from Kentucky last year, a really lengthy guy, rebounds, blocks shots really, really well. I think more so than anything, they need a shooting guard, small forward type. So Ben McLemore, they drafted a couple of years back. He really hasn't panned out. There's reports that they may be trying to trade him, something like a late first rounder. So maybe they make that trade there with some teams if they're interested. But I could see them really going for a shooting guard. They really need a Buddy Hield type of player. Maybe he falls, a Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown you mentioned. They really need a guy, in my opinion, who can create his own shot and can score off the dribble. Not necessarily a spot shooter. That's what more of McLemore is. the concerns about point guard is there. I don't see Rondo coming back. I honestly don't. I think he kind of builds on the year he had here with the Kings. He had a great year. And then he sort of bolts somewhere else when he gets more money.
Yeah.
So the concerns are there. They're really high on Sabonis. He's more of a power forward center. The traditional European style of play for big men, steps out, hits the mid-range jumper, can step out on the perimeter and shoot as well. So they're really interested in him. But the Kings, I feel really bad for them. No one has really wanted to work out at the Kings. Agents aren't wanting to go there with their prospects. The Kings are kind of looked at as like the black sheep. No one wants to go there.
Which kind of surprises me because, like I said, as a hometown fan of the Kings and living not far from Sacramento, I got the opportunity to go do the virtual tour of the new arena. And it's great looking, and they made sure that the practice facility would be finished before the arena so that prospective draft picks could come and work out. And honestly, and I'm not just saying this as a Kings fan, if I had the ability to go to a team that's completely rebranding and having a whole new arena and all this new things, that would be something that would somewhat excite me.
Yeah, it would me too. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it's doing that to any of these guys.
Weirdly enough, yeah.
I find it really sad how these players can sort of, like, I know Eli Manning did it a lot of years back when
John
he got
Elway
drafted.
too.
So, I don't want to go to that team. Like, you should be grateful for even a team wanting to draft you. And then you have this brand new arena. The Kings have really been kind of like the laughing stock of the NBA for the last 10 years.
I say the 76ers more so, but okay.
Well, I'd say Sixers more recently, but the Kings really over the past decade.
They haven't won for about 10 years.
Yeah, they've been in the lottery every year since 2004. So draft picks aren't panning out. I'd say for the exception of DeMarcus Cousins, really. He's been the one star of the show.
Isaiah panned out, just happens to be for the Celtics now.
I mean, he wasn't really a high draft pick, though. He was the last pick of the draft.
But I'm draft pick. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So he was definitely a steal, last pick of the draft. So, but yeah, I feel bad for the Kings. No one wants to go there, man. So, I mean, someone's going to have to go there. Yeah, but
believe me, man, as a fan, I know. Let's move on to, lastly, the Chicago Bulls, where you see they could possibly go with this now losing, who some thought at a point was the best player in the NBA, Derrick Rose.
Well, they obviously have a need at point guard now, Rose out. So they definitely need to go, I think, more of a point guard. Interesting to see what they do with people like Taj Gibson, people like Noah, possibility that Noah might want to leave. I've heard that the Warriors will be really interested in Noah. I think that'd be a great fit for Noah and the Warriors. I think they need to go in the backcourt. They have Jimmy Butler, obviously. Maybe they move him to stay at a small forward as opposed to a shooting guard. He could play both, really. But I think they need to go guard. They have a void there with Derrick Rose gone now. So Calderon's more of a he'll probably start right away, I think so, but he's really a transition for them. He's not going to be the long-term option, so they need to go with guard.
All right. Interesting to see, and of course, on our next episode, we will recap some of these picks for you guys. But that's all we got for you today. We can't continue this any longer because we just got to go.
We just don't have any more time.
We
do have another episode coming up today, though. So, Alex, what do we have on tap for our next episode?
We're going to talk NHL and newly named MVP there, one of the first Americans to do it for a long time, you could say. We're going to talk CM Punk and his first official UFC fight and kind of what we see out of the UFC when it comes to more notable people kind of rising up in the ranks there quicker than some of those fighting for it. And then a little bit more NBA talk and some early free agency talk that are relevant to LeBron James, Jeremy Lin, and Kevin Durant. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to you guys right now. But we will, of course, we'll be talking to you next episode.
That's right. So make sure you stay locked to the GSMC Podcast Network. It's gsmcpodcast.com. That's where you can find all our great podcasts here. You can follow us on Twitter, GSMC_sports, as well as Instagram. Subscribe to us on iTunes. We usually float around the top there at the sports and recreation section, so you can always find us. And there's a lot of other podcasts on our network that are in the top there. Or you can just search Golden State Media Concepts, and all the podcasts will be there. And other options are like we're on YouTube if you like that option there. We're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play. Really, any way you can find podcasts and audio files, we are there.
Yeah, we're there. And don't forget to use the hashtag GSMC Podcast Network when tweeting. You can find us there. You can find us anywhere.
Yeah, we're all over the map. We're all over the board.
Just search it, man, and you'll find us. As always, I'm Alex.
And I am Ben.
And we will see you guys on our next episode.
Have a good day. Hope
Don't-
you guys are excited for the NBA draft tonight.
Yeah, don't go being OJ.
Don't be OJ.